Hey, welcome to Mama Issues. I'm Charmaine.
I'm Shani.
Hello, I'm Mama Shelly, and today we're going to talk about generational curses, but let's talk about generational behavior because that's actually what it is. So let's get started. Motherhood isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. And we want to help you find your own path to purpose and promise.
What do you think generational behavior is?
Oh my gosh, where do I begin? Let me start with kind of like what we shared before, how, growing up, seeing behaviors from my dad, being abusive to my mom, picking up that behavior, and then me marrying your father with that behavior as well. Mm-hmm. And then now I see some of that behavior that you've experienced, Charmaine, like you said, with your previous relationships. So as we pick up different behaviors along the way, I think sometimes consciously we're not aware of what we're doing and what the damage that it causes.
Right. That's true. Because generational behaviors, just like you were saying, with your past relationship, even on the way back to your mother and your father, that's generational behavior that we have to watch. And so when I look at my daughter, Olivia, I think about generational behavior. What did you experience? I think about what did my mom experience versus what did I experience, and what am I passing on to Olivia, even Junior as a young man growing up. So,
Well, talking about passing on behaviors to children, with my children, one of the behaviors that I passed on was not letting my children pick what they wanted to do, and I picked it for them because that's what I wanted for them, and it wasn't necessarily what they wanted for themselves because I didn't have everything that I wanted as a child. So I tried to live my life through my children. I know that sounds so cliche, but I actually did, like buying extra things and doing everything that they did not want, and I didn't focus on what they wanted because they're a child, and we should stray away from because you're a child, you don't know what you want. No, my kids know what they want for
and
sure.
limits, though.
And it's
and
really
limits.
it's really a lot of time. Children need time. They don't want a lot of shoes and clothes. They want your undivided attention. They don't want TikTok when you pass them their phone. They want time. They don't want, oh, let's go to McDonald's. They want to cook with you. In reality. So taking away that generational behavior of I am giving you what I want. So I'm learning to stray away from the things that social media has taught us because I'm in a generation where there wasn't any social media. And then when I became a teenager, then social media came. So then I kind of got stuck in that flow for a little bit. Then I realized, oh, this is all marketing. So, and once I realized that, I was like, oh, I need to really zone in. But I do appreciate those blessings because it did show me that the generation, the generational behavior that I was doing, that's the good thing about social media. It brought to my, it brought it to the forefront of, oh, we're all doing the same thing because we're seeing this and not really correcting it. So,
But you don't know what you don't know.
yeah.
And so that's where I was, going back to not having a mom at the age of 11 years old, losing her tragically. So never having that maternal upbringing, not knowing, what do I do when it's that time of the month, when it's a cycle. So I remember a conversation that you and I had, Shani, previously about, like, Mom, I didn't know how to treat myself as a woman with my body growing up, transitioning from childhood to a preteen through a teenager and a young woman. I didn't know that either. So
Yes.
imagine being in a household with a father, old school dad, just he and I, growing up that way, not knowing anything, just kind of being thrust. He was thrust into that position. I thank God that he took that reign and wanted to raise me, and not knowing how do I, not having any, maternal mother or women in my life.
Yeah.
Just my dad and I.
That did put a strain on the relationship for a long time because
What relationship?
our relationship.
Oh,
Mama issues.
mama issues.
What relationship? Always forgetting. It put a strain on our relationship because I felt like you were supposed to tell me how to maintain myself as a woman, and you were supposed to
Yeah.
tell me how to change my pad, and you were supposed to tell me how to take a shower. But the things, well, we all know how to. Let's make that clear. But, you know, in the beginning stages of being a young woman, like, I learned it from our village, you know? And I think that is not praised enough, that it takes a village to raise children. And because of the village that you did have, it was taught still. But like we have spoke before, we never want what God gives us in the way he gives it to us. So I appreciate that knowledge still came, but I did build a lot of resentment up because I'm like, I want you to tell me, but we can't keep expecting things from people that don't know. You just didn't know. So I brought to peace with myself, well, you don't know. And in a lot of moments, I'm sitting there with my children and I just don't know. I just don't know.
That is the
So then I look back and like, oh, you don't know. So
So let me ask you this. When did you come to the realization of, because you were a teenage mother just like I was a teenage
Right.
mother. Generational
Right,
behavior.
right.
And looking back, my mom had my eldest brother when she was 15 years old.
Wow, really?
And I can't imagine having a child that young, you know. And where was her father? I never met her father. So grandpa, we called him dad. He's actually my great grandfather. My mom called him dad.
hold on.
No, I'm not.
I'm rapping.
What do you mean?
So who was great granddaddy?
Remember, you know, you were like, what, 8 years old.
The great. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Our great.
So when he passed away, we called him dad, but my mom called him dad. So growing up, I thought that was her father, not realizing that was her grandfather.
Oh.
So her grandfather raised her, and her father was missing. And so what example did she really have as well? And so talking about generational behavior, she was a teenage mom, and I think her mom was a teenage mom because they were really close. And that's when she began to emotionally, mentally, spiritually fall apart when my grandmother passed. So I never really had that maternal influence. I didn't have a grandmother. She wasn't around because she had passed away. Transitioning as a child, 11 years old, my mom left. She passed away. And so where was the maternal figure in my life to pass on to you? So the behavior that was passed on, we're all mothers, whether you have a child or not.
We have a womb.
We have the power of the womb. And so we all have that maternal instinct. And I had the instinct, but to me it was taken away because I had to shift from childhood to parenthood. Childhood to parenthood. And I'm sure you can attest to what that may feel like. So how did you feel as, like, when did you realize my children, because you're still in your 20s.
Right.
When did you realize as a young mother, because that's a young mother, because I had all y'all
Pregnant at
babies running
18,
around at that point.
Pregnant at 18,
Yes.
pushing out at 19.
Yeah.
When did I recently, once my children got into school and the schedule started scheduling. So,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow.
Because how old is King?
He.
I should know this. They're my
Oh,
grandchildren.
I forgot too.
Yeah. So 8.
So yeah, my oldest is 8. He's going on 9 this year. So I recently, he's in what, second grade. So I recently just realized that, like, the end of first grade for him. That why, because, you know, kindergarten, first grade, not discrediting. It's not as time consuming, but the more they get into schooling, the more they know, and the more they know, the more you have to learn. So pushing me to learn more and realize, like, me and my son's relationship, well, my oldest son, because the other one's baby kids. Yeah, pushing myself to learn our relationship, because now he is getting old enough to understand our relationship. And being 8 years old, I remember being 8 years old and not being heard. So I am trying to stop that generational behavior of not being heard because you're too young, quote unquote. And that is really when I started to really know when he started to have an opinion, if that answers the question. When he started telling me what he likes to do, when he starts studying and start, Mom, the music that look at my song, and like, how are you even logged in? But yeah, so him being aware that he's a human, that's what started my journey of, oh, okay, because now I have to start editing myself, or not editing, showing you myself and showing you that I'm a human being and I make mistakes. I am not perfect, and just being honest and open to kill that generational behavior. Because another thing that stopped me, or that I have with my oldest, is that I didn't want to show him who I was because of generational behavior, because you always stood up as a strong woman and you never once complained about your position. And I thought that was what I had to do. I thought I had to stand there and not complain. I thought I had to stand there and not feel. I thought I had to stand there and be a superhero. And once I came to the conclusion of, you don't have to be any of that. You need to show your children who you are, because that's what I wanted from you. And the more I started showing the real me to my son, the more he started to be able to be who he was and started showing himself as a real person, and not this cookie cutter child that I wanted him to be, that I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So
when you say your real self, what do you mean by real self? Because to me, growing up, and not trying to discredit anything, I validate everything that you say. Showing my real self, that was my real self. Survival mode. Take care of the kids. Go to work. Go to school. Get a degree, because I don't want to stay in the financial deficit that we were, because everything rested on my shoulders. Feeding you rested on my shoulders. Clothing you rested on my shoulders. Emotional, when you were going through, even though I know you say you feel like I wasn't there, like, imagine everything resting on my shoulders.
So what I mean by that is, you never showed your personality. You just showed what you could do. So you never gave yourself the opportunity to live. You were only living. So I didn't want to pass that down to my children, of having a day-to-day routine and not having any substance besides living every day. I wanted to show my children that you can be alive and live and venture and be adventurous, because a lot of times growing up, you did not like to go out and do things, but now I understand that it roots from depression. It wasn't that you didn't want to, you didn't know how to. So yeah, that's pretty much.
Definitely. So what do you think is a trait that, or a behavior that you feel like should be exposed, or
I mean, listening to you all,
or taken on?
I think that first, you don't know what you don't know. But hearing you all, and especially you, Charmaine, how you're saying, how you've said before, you kind of vocalize. You don't have any problem expressing yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Moving right along.
Okay,
Charmaine.
it's cleared up.
We can move forward.
Right. Okay, I'm good then.
But Charmaine, you I think you got that part of me. I see a piece of me in all of you, and I'm gonna give you, Shani, credit for that. Okay, you coined that phrase.
Yes.
So all 6 of my daughters, you all have a piece of me. But it's like you don't know what you need until you receive it. Like the relationship that I'm in now. I didn't realize, I didn't even know what I wanted. So being a teenager, marrying your dad as a teenager, being pregnant, bam, bam, bam. Bam, bam.
Bam, bam. Bam, bam, bam. Stop playing.
Yeah, I just, you don't know what you don't know. So imagine, okay, generational, moving from my mom, not having her, then my dad, then the moment I got a little burst of freedom because he sheltered me like most fathers do. Like I said, he treated me like a princess. I never got, okay,
Stop this.
let me correct, like most fathers should.
Yes.
Should. That's the responsibility of a father. But not knowing what I needed. I didn't know what type of man I liked. I didn't know what type of man I didn't like. Because I went straight from my dad's house to getting pregnant.
Wow.
Moving out. Getting
That
my
sounds
own.
familiar.
It sounds familiar?
How it sounds familiar.
Because for me, that's the same thing that happened with me. I left my mother's house. I got my own house. I ended up pregnant. I wasn't even graduated for a year, and had a child, and had to face that embarrassment. I don't know if that's generational behavior.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's very much embarrassment for me, and it was more of me being embarrassed of being pregnant and being the unexpected child to be pregnant and have to have that pressure.
You know what? Hearing y'all talk, because I was really observing, because I haven't been on y'all side as far as the generational pregnancy at a teenage, but as a teenage. But I think that y'all it's a generational behavior as trying to like make yourself look like, oh, I'm doing this, and not in a bad way, but you're always trying to, because you did this pregnancy at an early age, you try to make up for it in a way and say, no, I'm good, I'm better, and I'm this and I'm that, because am I making sense?
You make a lot of sense.
You get what I'm saying? And that's a generational behavior because y'all were pregnant at an early age, and I feel like it needs to be canceled because y'all are good enough, and y'all don't have to sit there and be the best of the best of the best, because you already are. So that's what I take from the conversation of 2 teenage pregnancy. I'm kind of tired, but it's okay. But two teenage, what do you call it?
2 teenage
You good,
parents.
you good.
Teenage parents, yes,
Yeah.
teenage mothers. That's what
Yeah.
it really is. But yeah, and I just want to let y'all know that
Yeah.
that y'all really are good.
I appreciate
and I know
that.
that y'all made a mistake, but it's really not a mistake.
No, it definitely slowed me down in life because I
Yes.
felt like I was down a
Yes, ain't
A
no
bad,
telling,
horrible road.
what could have happened. But yeah, so
Okay. Mother moment. You grown. What bad? Like
Behaviors,
where do you like what behaviors do you feel you were headed down? Because I felt like that too. When
I
got
was very much partying. I was very much in the crowd. I was very much on the scene.
girl, bye.
No, I was just saying hello.
Tone it down.
No, I was definitely going down a pathway that God did not have a purpose for me to go down. And I feel like I have 4 children now. And every time he blessed me with a child, I took it as a lesson because I kept thinking that it was a generational curse. And it was only generational behavior that I needed to correct myself. So God just kept teaching me like, okay, you need to slow down. You don't get it. Boop. Oh, you tied your tubes? Because I got my tubes tied after my second child.
Definitely did.
And I still had
did.
2 more
Definitely
children
did.
after that. So he was like, oh, you think the impossible.
Right, you think you in control.
Yeah, you think, oh yeah, because I really had a control
That's
issue.
a behavior.
Like,
Control issue.
And control
yes.
stems from fear, and fear stems from pain.
Generational
Yes.
behavior.
Generational. Okay.
No, that's
I just wanted to-
generational behavior.
That's
Right.
the truth. That is the truth.
Yeah. But listening to you, this is so incredible. It's so amazing. I really thank you all for sharing and being open with me because it's healing. It's healing for me. And things I didn't know, because we're just now coming to the point where we can have conversations, where we can have positive conversations
Not arguments.
without the overwhelming emotion
Yes.
Yes.
where it gets
Intense
muddled.
emotion.
Right.
Yes.
Because we haven't spoken about or tried to resolve anything.
Yes.
So I thank God for you all. But
Yes.
going back to saving lives as an early age, your sister, Chris, she saved my life because I didn't realize I was still depressed from losing my mom. Those were silent years. And I'm
Yes.
just now unwrapping that. And it's still difficult.
Wow.
It's still difficult. But when the moment is right, I'll be able to share. I don't want to share prematurely because I really have to understand where my life was, where it is, and where it's going. But realizing generationally, these things were really kind of put upon me, and we just did the best we could
What things?
with what things like, my mom passing and choosing the wrong person and getting pregnant and not even knowing fully about sex. My father never talked to me about sex.
Yeah.
His sex talk was, don't you go out there and get yourself in trouble.
Right. We didn't have to
As
talk at
every
all.
parent do.
We didn't have to talk at all. So then growing up, I felt like I let people use me because I didn't know. I'm just out there willy-nilly, just out there free and like, oh, I don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Contraceptive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't know anything about that.
And I feel like a lot of times because of your things that were passed down a generation to generation, and because of your childhood trauma, you didn't want to speak about certain situations. So how did you overcome speaking about certain situations and finally open up to us to end generational behavior?
It was really going through after losing my dad about 4 years ago, because you all know that was my heart. And like that, losing him broke me because he was my rock. He gave me love. As he matured and God, saved and delivered him from anger. And I found out on both sides of the family how dysfunctional it was. His mom, his father left, but he still had a relationship with his dad. But his mother left him. So understanding the pattern that on both sides of my family, generational wise, the mother was missing.
Wow.
And so when I became a mother, I didn't want to have kids. I really didn't.
Girl,
and
me
when
either.
I had 6 children later, but I didn't. And if I were to have a child, a child, I used to pray to God, let it be a boy. One boy with red hair, and I have a redhead grandson.
Redhead grandson.
Yes. So that's where it came from. Thank
Right.
you, Lord. I didn't have to have him. So I just love my grandson. But yeah, I wanted that. But I'm seeing now that God wanted me to be the mother that I never had. And he blessed me with all of you. So as we wrap up this conversation, this was really good, ladies. Thank you so much. What's one thing you could give? What's one token you could give and share? I'll start with you, Charmaine.
Don't hold in what you have. That's one thing that we have to break. Holding in what you have. We cannot be silent, like you were saying earlier. How I'm the personality that will hold it in. I'm telling you, it will deteriorate you. So don't do it.
And find
Allow
someone.
yourself to be liberal.
Speak up. Someone trusting to share with.
Continue with generational growth instead of generational behavior, and
Right.
be open and honest and stop holding back.
And let's start speaking a different language. Let's start speaking generational blessings.
Yes.
Generational life, yes.
Yes. Let's start speaking life.
Yes.
Life. Generational blessings.
So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Mama Issues. So if you like this episode, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.